that was when my eyes started opening really into the language endangerment, apart from the Igbo language experience. And from there, I started going deeper. I realized that it's not, when a language vanishes, it's not always just about the language, even the people, the culture, the histories. It feels like when you're wiped off the earth and nobody knows your name, nobody knew you existed. It became something more emotional for me than just work.
You're listening to the Speaking Tongues podcast. I'm your host, El Charisse. Each week, I sit down to a conversation with multilinguals where we discuss and celebrate language, life, and culture through our own perspectives. Welcome back to another episode of Speaking Tongues. I'm here today with Tochi. Tochi Precious is a seasoned program manager and language advocate with over 7 years of experience leading initiatives in the Wikimedia movement and startup incubation. She's the co-founder of the Igbo Wikimedians User Group and currently serves as a Wikimedian in residence at Wikitongues, where she works at the intersection of open knowledge, indigenous languages, and community empowerment. Her work amplifies underrepresented voices and supports grassroots language preservation through inclusive community-led approaches. Tochi Precious is busy, and I'm so happy that she has a moment to come and chat with us about Igbo. How are you, Tochi Precious?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation. I'm so glad that you're here to talk to us about Igbo language and culture with us today. I could not think of a better person to have this conversation with.
Thank you for inviting me to. I'm excited to talk about Igbo.
I like to start each episode with the same question, and that is, what is your first language and which languages have you learned to speak?
Okay, my first language is Igbo. I learned to speak English in school, and I also did study German and French in the university, and I'm currently learning Finnish.
Oh my gosh, how's that going?
It's very complicated because it's not close to anything I know.
How long have you been learning Finnish?
Okay, so it's a long story. It's not a direct answer. I moved to Finland last year. I was because Finland speaks Swedish and Finnish, and I was grabbing some things, and I thought, oh, that should be the Finnish. It was kind of similar to German because of my previous knowledge of German. And then at a point, I realized it was Swedish, and I'm like, oh no. So I gave it up. And then last month, I decided to start learning Finnish. So yeah, after a long time of abandoning it.
So you're at the start of your Finnish journey, but you're having an immersive experience because you're in Finland.
Yeah, and it's kind of way different from my previous learning of German and French. Here I have people who speak the language, and most of the written things are also in Finnish and spoken Finnish as well. But Finnish is a bit complicated because the Finnish you learn in the classroom is totally different from what they speak outside. So it's crazy. But
It'll just take some time. It'll just take some
yeah,
time. So you have experience with learning languages, so I'm sure it'll come to you quickly.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, some of my Finnish friends said, you have a talent for learning languages. You speak the Finnish well, so I believe you can do it. I'm like, yes,
That's amazing. You got the approval of the friend group. So that's
yeah.
encouraging. That's encouraging. Yeah.
It gave me hope,
Yeah.
actually.
So we're here to talk about Igbo. And this is the first time we're having a conversation about Igbo on this podcast. So yes, I'm so excited. Tell me about the language itself. Tell me about what you find interesting about Igbo. Tell us a little bit of grammar if you can. How do we form sentences? Is there tonality? Is it gendered? And maybe any special greetings we have for people in the community? or anything that stands out to you that you find interesting.
Okay, so Igbo is a tonal language. So it means that your pitch actually can change the meaning of a word. So let's say, for example, there's this word aqua, aqua,
Mm,
aqua. So aqua means to cry, like, and then aqua means bed, like the bed you lie on. And then aqua means egg. So there are actually like five of them like that, the same spelling. But then we have these diacritical marks as well.
mhm.
So whichever way your pitch goes, changes the meaning of the word. And the Igbo language is not gendered.
Okay.
Yeah, so we don't have gender, and that's one thing in Finnish as well. And then the sentence structure usually follows the SVO pattern. And we also use this kind of reduplication a lot. So by reduplication, I mean repetition of words. So ngwa ngwa means fast. So it's more like trying to lay emphasis, I guess. Je, like na iga obere obere means small small gently. Then, when it comes to greetings, there are also culturally specific greetings. So, for example, we say ndewo. Ndewo is a kind of general respectful greeting. It can mean thank you, it can mean well done, it can mean hello. It depends on when it is used, like context. We also have greeting like ebolachi. Ebolachi is literally translated as did you wake up well?
Oh.
Yeah, but it's a way of saying did you sleep well, or I hope you had a good sleep. Or it can also mean good morning, but it just yeah. And it's used in the morning.
Hmm.
Then when it comes to showing respect, when greeting your elders or titled people, sometimes we prostrate. That's if it is titled people or older people. Prostrating or kneeling can also be done, but it's not something that is very general in the Igbo culture, unlike in the Yoruba culture where you always have to prostrate for an elder. So that is totally by choice and also depending on the region where you're coming from. Then there can also be a specific kind of greeting for elders depending on where you're coming from. So in my own part of Igbo, I'm from Abia State. From the Ngwa speaking part of Abia State. So my language, my dialect is Ngwa. And when we see elders or titled people, we say Mazi. So Mazi, yeah, Mazi is a greeting for older people or titled people. So that actually just depends on the region. And then in Igbo, we also do have dialects. So depending on, we have five major Igbo speaking states, and then we have different dialects. So depending on your dialect, whatever you want to say can actually mean a different thing in another dialect. Yeah,
Oh.
yes. So, for example, in Ungwa dialect, D is husband, but in the dialect, G is husband, but G means yam in my own dialect.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then we also used to say this because Igbo people, we have many dialects. We used to say Igbo na sunolu nolu, mana anyukom anyomamre yo akokwara ya urofu. So it means that Igbos speak in different voices, but when we
Mm.
cough, it's the same thing. So yeah, that's basically that about Igbo.
I love that. I love that saying.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about dialects and how people understand one another, and how, I guess, if you're listening to music or you're maybe reading something like news or traveling around town, do you see and hear, like in music or what is it, like television and things like that? How do they bridge that gap between the dialects so that more Igbo speakers can understand?
Okay. So, because of the many dialects of Igbo language, we have what we call Igbo Izugbe. So the Igbo Izugbe is how do I say this in English? It's more like general Igbo.
Okay.
The Igbo they teach in the classroom is also the Igbo that you speak for every other person to understand. But most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, we all understand ourselves.
Mhm.
The differences are not like so much like that. It's just sometimes you can have people that a part where they replace something like H for F. So like in my own dialect, when you want to say I love you, you say ahorom genanya. But in Anambra dialect, you say aforom genanya. So the H is swapped for F, but we have the standardized Igbo that we all speak, and that is the one that they are used to write books and also used for broadcasting and every major thing. But when it also comes to music, they use different dialects.
Mm,
So you can, with music is a sound that's pleasant to the ear,
yeah.
so we understand, and it's also beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Now that I asked that question, I'm like, okay, that's such an obvious, like, obviously there's a standard that everybody can understand. With Igbo, was there a moment that you had maybe growing up or, going out into the world the first time when you realized that there was a different dialect or like you encountered somebody who spoke a different dialect and like what was that moment like?
So I was 9 years old, and actually I was schooling in the village as at then, and then my dad lived in Aba. So somehow I moved because my mom went to her place, and then I had to move to Aba to go stay with my dad, and then re-register for school. Our neighbor, like our neighbors, were from Ohafia, and we are from Ungwa, and their dialect was when they spoke Igbo, it was just totally different.
Mm,
And when they said G, I think they asked me to go get um D, and then because meant husband in my own dialect, and then for them it meant yam. Like I was just standing there like totally confused. Like it wasn't just I couldn't make any sense of it. And that was my first time of leaving the village to the city, and then realizing that there were actually other people that spoke a different kind of Igbo that was not the one that I spoke. But then the standardized Igbo also has majority of its content from the Igbo that is spoken in Ngwa, the Ngwa dialect, and I think some part of Imo State dialect as well, and like a kind of combination of Obo. Yeah, that was kind of a shocking moment for me.
especially to be 9 and now like you have to go get a husband at 9 years old. It's terrifying. I know that there's so many languages spoken in Nigeria. I'm having so much fun learning about so much linguistic diversity in Nigeria, and it's just so beautiful and amazing to me. Um, do we see in Igbo language any like mixing of Igbo with other languages, either in terms of vocabulary or tone or structure?
Yeah, definitely. That actually happens with almost every language. So the major one is the one we call Inglibo. So
Inglibo.
yes, the Inglibo is a blend of Igbo and English.
Okay.
So you might hear things like I'm coming Biko, more like I'm coming please. Um you can hear things like
It's okay.
kind of mad, like this one is mad or this one is crazy. You can hear things like just different things that you blend with Igbo. it's kind of a bit rare, um, with mixes from other Nigerian languages. Not that it doesn't happen, but it's just is rare. But the very common one is the Inglibu, like Nainokwadea, like my guy, are you there? So it was one of the things that was kind of happening also,
Mm,
that was helping to push the Igbo language away. So it's this particular Igbo mix happens a lot in the cities, and especially amongst young people that switch between English and Igbo, and sometimes English and Pidgin, or even Yoruba, but it just depends on the setting. But the major one is Igbo and English.
okay. Okay. How do you feel or how have you noticed that Igbo stands out among the major languages of Nigeria, among, Yoruba, among Hausa?
It's a thing of joy. I love the Igbo language. I mean, it's my language, it's my tribe, and there's this kind of pride we have as Igbo people. Wherever you go, like we carry the culture, we just carry
Mm,
ourselves wherever we go. So being one of the three major languages in Nigeria is a thing of joy and pride. So we
mm.
carry it with so much pride.
Do you notice like, in Nigeria, if you're in like a big city in Nigeria, um, and you are, like you said, Igbo people, they carry their pride with them, or maybe not even in Nigeria. Let's say like somewhere like London or somewhere, any like big city where there's like a lot of people. Is there something that an Igbo person would say or something they would refer to and you could hear them and you would instantly know that this person is Igbo?
Okay, yes. So most of the time, it's usually the accent.
Okay.
Our accents are kind of stronger. And then we usually emphasize on community and personal achievement. So, like I said, we are always proud of our heritage. So we like to take care of our people, our immediate families, other people. We have this, we believe in communal effort. We are not individualistic kind of people, but we also pride ourselves in our personal achievements. And then when you see an Igbo person, maybe you might spot them wearing their traditional attires. So
Mm,
most of the time you might see them wearing isiago, or you can see the men wearing the cap, or just one thing or the other. And another thing is, you might also spot them by maybe greetings. Um, and then we are people that work very hard. That's another thing you would know an Igbo person for. We are not like lazy people per se. Uh, yeah, like wherever you see an Igbo person, they hustle very hard. We call it Ebambo, and it is central um, to our, should I say, to our community heritage, like our personality. Um, and sometimes you might spot an Igbo person from vocabularies, like small vocabularies that just come out from, they just like slip off sometimes. You might hear na and chai, like all those things. So, yeah.
I love hearing that. And I asked that question too because, I know that we're becoming so connected with one another all over the world. And in a lot of ways, the world is getting smaller. And it can be so difficult for all of us to hold on to even our accents, like our
Yeah.
local accents and things like that. Like I'm in New York City and I noticed that people have said to me, "Oh, you're from New York, you don't have an accent." And I'm like, um, nobody here has an accent anymore because everyone here is from somewhere else and we're all like on the internet all the time. So I feel like our local accents and our sometimes our traditions are um we're not like losing them, but maybe
Yeah.
they're not as sharp as in generations before. So it's I don't know. I'm very interested in how this is happening to to all of us in the world. I
Yeah.
feel like, but I love hearing that there is that importance on carrying your culture and making sure that you're seen in the world. And I think it's really beautiful. You were talking to me before this, and you had mentioned that years ago, decades ago, people were predicting that the language would no longer exist by now, basically. Can you talk to us about that and why people thought that and what was done to make sure that didn't happen?
Okay. Yeah, actually, it was UNESCO. That should be, there was once in 2005, and I think there was also another one in 2012. Listed the Igbo language as endangered with predictions that it might die out by 2025. So that the reason for that was because fewer young people were speaking Igbo at home at that time, and parents saw it like it was of no use for their children to speak Igbo because they felt like there was no benefits from speaking Igbo. So, we're colonized by Britain and our lingua franca is English. And it was like for you to belong in the society, for you to progress in your career, you needed to speak very good English. You see parents paying for their kids to learn the British accent. They paid for extra lessons for them to learn English. And there was this sentence that you always hear, like you're not going anywhere with Igbo. So it's better you drop it off, don't speak it, learn a language that will be much more economically important to you, kind of. So with that attitude, people would give birth, they would teach them English, and in the homes, you will see parents speaking English to their children. But then, with that prediction, there was this kind of anger it stirred up. So, when a situation where, um, this is true, but then you're trying to manipulate me to believe that it's not true. So like you're getting angry that I'm telling you the truth. And that was the thing that happened. A lot of Igbo people, it was like a wake-up call for us. There was this kind of anger. The Igbo community pushed back. There were lots of efforts. Even up till now, there's still like a lot of efforts by people to try to safeguard the Igbo language. There were Igbo learning apps. There is still. We have the Igbo language Wikipedia. There are dictionaries. There are different programs that were promoting Igbo language. Diaspora communities and also local educators are also doing more now to teach the Igbo language to their children. You would be surprised that you will see a child born of Igbo parents that lives in Germany and he speaks Igbo fluently without even having stepped foot in Nigeria. And you're like, how did that happen?
Mm.
So yeah, that was the prediction, and here we are today. I The Igbo language is not going anywhere.
Love that. I love that. How did you get involved with being part of this safeguarding process of the language? You're working so tirelessly for Igbo, for your culture, for your language. How did you get involved with that?
Okay, so starting from the beginning,
Mhm.
um, I studied German and French in the university. Prior to that, I loved my English teachers, like my language teachers while I was in secondary school. I admired them a lot.
Mhm.
Um, they traveled a lot. They were very much open-minded, and it was a kind of uh, struggle to have to study a language in the university because my parents were like, with the kind of brain you have, you would have been a good doctor. But it wasn't just what I wanted. Yeah, it wasn't what I wanted. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of African parents, they like doctors, engineers, like those kind of names and big courses. But then I decided that this was the path I was going to choose. And while at it, I graduated from the university and then I started off a language business. It was a language startup. It was called Smarter Language Academy. And what I wanted to do with that, the goal was to help bridge the language gap. And the reason why I started that was I was watching after my national youth service. I was watching a TV program one evening. It's called on the Untold Stories of the ER, the emergency room. So that particular episode, the woman came into the hospital. She had an emergency, but then she could not speak English. So it was very hard for the doctors to even understand what was wrong with her. Talk more of being able to treat her. So they started going around to find someone or even a translator or interpreter who could help with interpreting what she was saying, but they couldn't find. And then luckily they found a security guy who couldn't even speak the language fluently, but he was able to understand to an extent what the woman was saying. And he helped to mediate. The woman got treatment, and the woman owed her life to that security man.
Mm-hmm.
She always like she would go once in a while, like she made it as a routine to always cook or bring very good like goodies to the security man to always visit him. So that's that particular TV series kind of opened my eyes to how languages can actually save a life. And with my startup, I wanted to help bridge the language gap. So while at it, from 2017, 2016 to COVID 2021,
Mm-hmm.
COVID came and I couldn't continue any longer. And then I got into paid employment. I started my first job in November 2021. I was a program manager at a startup incubator. And from there, in 2022, no, actually 2020, I started paid employment. 2021, August, I applied for a remote job with an Italian NGO. And what they wanted to do was to kind of get more Africans to be able to contribute to Wikipedia because there is actually more knowledge about the city of Paris on Wikipedia than um, African countries as a whole. And prior to that, we had already started the Igbo language Wikipedia and the Igbo Wikimedia community in 2018. And I already had knowledge of events management and program management. And while I'm running that program, I helped to document a language from Mozambique. That was the Makua language. That's the second most spoken language in Mozambique. And it had no digital footprint apart from a Bible translation into the language. So, like,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, that was when my eyes started opening really into the language endangerment, apart from the Igbo language experience. And yeah, from there, like I started going deeper. I realized that it's not when a language goes off or vanishes, it's not always just about the language. Even the people, the culture, the history is like it feels like when you're wiped off the earth and nobody
Mm-hmm.
knows your name, nobody knew you existed. Like it became something more emotional for me than just work. And then I started working with Wikitongues in 2022, and since then, I've been helping to document as many languages as possible, supporting language activists in different ways and different forms. And yeah, that is how it has been.
That's crazy. I'm learning so much from doing this show from people like you also, because I had another guest who said the same thing about, or something similar about, there's more information on the internet in the city of Paris than there is about, you know, the entirety of Africa and African
Yeah,
languages. And it's like something that I guess I feel like I've taken for granted, like what's on the internet, in the sense that like people have to put that stuff there. Like it doesn't just
yeah,
show up, you know? So like when
yeah,
you're going to look for something, there's times where I've looked for so many things. I'm like, why can't I find information about this? Oh, because nobody made the effort to put it there. And that's what you need.
exactly,
You need the people to make that effort and put that there. Um
exactly.
and but yeah, I heard that and I was so disgusted because like we don't need another article about Paris. We don't need another photo of Europe. We don't need it. We don't need more information about the US or New York or anything. It's well documented. So let's start documenting other things. Um, as you've been doing this work, what has been really, I guess, like now that I'm thinking about it, like what are some of the things you have to do in order to get this documentation online? What is some of the behind the scenes look like of doing this actual work of preserving the language and making sure it's properly documented online?
Okay, so we do a lot of motivational talks.
To yourselves or to one another?
Yeah, to other people and to
Okay.
myself as well, because some days you just wake up and you don't feel like doing anything,
Mm,
and then some days you talk to the activists and they are also having a lot of challenges, and and it's not easy to do this. Some of them are working alone, but I always have to encourage them to kind of get other people to work with them, just in case you get tired today, another person can take it up tomorrow. And then there is also behind the scene, there is also this loss of internet. You're working with a language activist and you're not able to communicate with the person for 3 months, 6 months, and that's
mm,
because the person has gone on field work, and you send emails, you try to fix meetings, and behind the scene, your time zones are very different. And I have to, yeah, sometimes you wake up at 12 a.m. because that is actually the very closest best time that you can have a meeting with someone who is on a totally different time zone.
mhm,
And sometimes you have to teach, reteach, and teach. And then sometimes you just keep getting all the calls. They don't let you rest because you have there are some who are overly enthusiastic, and they kind of keep pushing you to do. And because for my own track of managing Wikitongues projects, I manage the Wikimedia track, the people who use Wikimedia projects to document their languages, because that's the easiest and also like one of the cheapest ways you can go. I have to most of the time start new Wikipedia pages for them in the test project, which is the Wikimedia incubator. And then you have to encourage them to keep editing and keep it active, because that is one of the ways that would help it to get out of the incubator quickly. Because if they stop contributing, it means that it will stay there for a very long time.
mm,
So you have to train them on how to use that. And prior to that, they will also have to decide which of the platforms they want to use, because Wikimedia has 13 different projects, and you determine which one you want to use. So depending on which one they want to use, that is what your training is going to be focused on. And then when you teach and they don't understand, you might have to reschedule further trainings. And you would also have to, there's a lot of translation, interface translations that go on behind the scene for to make sure that when you see your language Wikipedia or your language dictionary, it comes up in your language as well. And there's also a lot of communication with the Wikimedia Foundation's language team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just different things that go on behind the scene.
Yeah, I guess it varies depending on the language and, the size of the team that, or the size of the group of people that want to take on this kind of work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, as you're doing this work and you're involved in this, is there anything that you've come across that has surprised you? Maybe something you didn't think you would encounter, and then there it was.
Um. So yeah, I've encountered a lot of things. Some of them being how some languages are spoken. Like when you go to South Africa, you hear the click sounds in the languages, and it's very, very fascinating. And sometimes you would see how common, like how some languages are almost similar, especially some words you might have in this language that you will find in another. And then you would have seen a language that has um, not 25, not the full English alphabet. They have less than the English alphabet. And then sometimes you find a language that there was one I came across, a whistling language. Another thing is how writing differs and how you can actually speak a language without knowing how to write the language. And I've really like come across a lot of things that are like eye opening in this language thing, and
Mhm.
it just excites me all of the time.
Was there anything about Igbo that surprised you specifically? Because you are you are a native speaker of the language. And sometimes when we examine our own languages, we
Yeah.
find things that we didn't expect to come up. Was there anything like that for you?
Mm, First of all, it's how when it comes to sustainability, this climate change and all that, I got to realize how languages actually is a kind of library for sustainability. So, for example, you see some languages, there are terms for, is it drought? There are plants that help prevent drought. And there are languages that actually carry this knowledge. And for Igbo language, our proverbs also teach us different things. Like some of the Igbo proverbs teach about coexistence. For example, there's this proverb that says "Egbe belu, ugo belu, nkesi beye bella." Nkukwaya. So it's more like um, let the kite perch, let the eagle perch. Anyone that says each other will not perch, may the wings break or something. There's a way that is being said.
Hmm.
And another part of it is also our festivals, like in the Igbo calendar is more like a moon tracking system, and this tracking system actually also predicts when we have to do our yam planting and when the yams are harvested. So these are like things that when I come across them, I'm kind of astonished, and it will surprise you to know that of all the years of my life, it was when I made a presentation about language and sustainability that I got deeper into this in Igbo language to even realize that our calendar was based on the moon tracking system. And then it also worked with our planting seasons and all that. So yeah.
But that's cool, right? This ancestral knowledge is like it's been in front of us this whole time.
Yeah. Honestly, and we didn't need it.
Yeah, and I feel like we're gonna need it.
Very, very
We're gonna
much.
need it soon. You mentioned Proverbs, and I would love to know. Um, no, I love Proverbs and I love sayings. And I feel like I don't want to say we're losing them, but I wonder if people really collect them or hold on to them like they used to. I don't know if you've noticed if people do or they don't.
Yeah.
But are there, how do I say this? Not are there a lot of proverbs, but do we hold on to proverbs in Igbo? Do we share them easily with one another? Are they well known? And are there any that you can share?
Yeah. So in Igbo, we chip them in. The elders use them a lot during their gatherings, but it's not something that the young people use very often. Um, in the Igbo Wikimedia community, we have the Igbo Wiktionary and the Igbo Wiki quote as well that we're also using to document quotes and proverbs for of Igbo origin. And yes, there are lots of Igbo proverbs, like the one that I said, Egbe bere, Ugo bere, that teaches us coexistence. There is this one that says, Wanta bulien na yelu, Ngwongwo na ngwongwo, awuchie ya ihu. So it's more like when a child tries to shame the father, or you try to kind of shame your own heritage per se, the shame still comes back to you, or there's just a way that I don't totally remember that. And
Mhm.
then there is also ọchịcha mere ihe gburu oke. So it's more like a cockroach that committed the crime that made them to kill the rat. So it's
What
like,
when do we use that one?
so we use that one when you're trying to say that someone committed a crime, but the person is trying to pretend and act like they were not the ones who committed the crime, and then someone else is being blamed for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And each other Igbo proverb were um aka aja aja na-ebute ọnụ mmanụ mmanụ. So when I talked about the Igbo people being industrious, it's part of our culture. And we also do have a proverb that says that. So it means that a sandy hand brings an oily mouth, or yeah. So akacha aja na-ebute ọnụ mmanụ mmanụ. So it means that because we farm in the Igbo culture, I'm going to relate that to it. When you farm, you get your hands sandy, and especially, let's say, when you plant yam, you get your hands sandy and dirty. When you harvest the yam and you're eating the yam with oil, you mean like, but it just means that when you work hard, you reap the benefits of what you've sown.
I like those. I gotta start collecting proverbs because I there's so much wisdom in them, and I
Yeah,
feel like they're always associated with like the older generation. But like one day we're gonna be the older generation. So we
yeah.
need to, right? Like we need to start holding on to them. But I like that you had those like ready. Ready to talk about. What are you've mentioned yam a few times. I would love to know what we're eating as a culture. What are we eating with the yam? How are we making the yam? How are we eating it?
Okay. So we eat yam in different ways. So first of all, yam is something that is very, very, should I say, sacred in the Igbo culture. We actually do have a yam festival as part of our festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we call it Iriji Ohoro or New Yam Festival.
Okay.
So it happens around August when we must have harvested the new yam. And after the harvest, there's usually, you don't eat yam before that festival. And during the festival, the king of maybe your village or wherever it is gets to pray for the community. Um, thank we thank our chi, as our um, God, for the planting season, the harvest season, and we also pray that the next planting season would be a fruitful one. And then the yam is roasted. um, yeah, after it must have been roasted, you can eat it with palm oil or whatever sauce you must have made. We also cook, but then back at home, we also cook yam porridge, and we have pounded yam, which you can use to eat these soups. You can also eat yam pepper soup.
Mm-hmm.
There are different yam delicacies. There's even this one that they do with mortar, and then you put palm oil, you spice it in the mortar, like there's a way you've done it. They're just different yam delicacies depending on where you're coming from.
Yum. And we eat it with like fish or other vegetables or meat, chicken.
Yeah, we eat with other vegetables. So when it is the roasted yam, there's this vegetable we call otaze, or there's also the scent leaf, nchwang. We add it to the oil, we use it to stir with the oil. There's also the oba. There are different, we can also have smoked fish,
Mm-hmm.
but the chicken might be maybe when you're cooking pepper soup and all of those other ones, but not usually with the roasted yam.
Okay. Okay. That sounds delicious. That sounds delicious. So we have the Yam Festival. What other festivals are we gathering and celebrating?
There's the Momo masquerade or the Momo festivals, depending on where you're coming from. I'm from Abia State. There's Epe. Igbo is a kind of masquerade festival that is around that Umuahia side. And there's the uh, Ijele, I think there's the Ijele festival. There's this other festival they host in Anambra that is a very big festival in Onitsha. I don't really remember the name, but
Mm.
I remember it along the line. I would also talk about that. Um, we have our masquerade festivals.
Do you have a favorite?
I like the Iriji. I like the Iriji because it's kind of peaceful. You get to eat yam. You must eat yam in your house. Yeah, we eat roasted yam, which is usually rare because not everyone wants to roast yam, but you can easily boil yam and do every other thing.
Hmm.
And I'm not so much of a fan of the masquerade festivals because of the sometimes some of the masquerades can be aggressive and they get to hit you and all of that.
Oh my gosh.
Um, yeah, it can be that some of the masquerade festivals, women are not allowed to see the masquerades, and yeah, so it just depends. But then I think my favorite masquerade is the Ijele masquerade.
Hmm.
I've really never seen it before. I just see it in movies and flavors music videos, and I've translated an article about it. Um, it's the largest masquerade in West Africa. It was also one of the things that was predicted to go extinct. And the masquerade does not appear, it doesn't come out like just like that, like every other masquerade. It comes out on special occasions.
Okay.
Maybe the coronation of a an important personality or the death of an important personality, and it takes 6 months to get it ready for an appearance. The masquerade is divided into two. The division is the division on the waist is actually there's a python that is used for the division on the waist, but it's not every every part that they use. Sometimes they can use some like it, and should I say like a dough-like kind of uh, python for it, but it's supposed to be a live python, and yeah, it's really very fascinating.
Supposed to be a live python.
Yes.
Is it? Wait a minute. That's awesome, first of all. Um, is okay, so it's supposed to be a live python, but it's not a live python?
It can in
It
some.
can be.
Yes.
Where do they get the python from?
So I really can't say, but then in some Igbo speaking communities, like some communities like in Anambra, there's there's this tradition of not killing pythons, and they actually like come at will, and they come and go. They don't do any harm to anyone.
Mhm.
And they also like when there's a newborn baby, they visit. When there's a visitor, most of the time they also visit. And if you mistakenly kill one, you get to they bury you. The person who killed the this thing is buries it as you bury a normal human. So the python is also found in different parts of the Igbo states. So
Mhm.
it's not something that is too weird. But then um, sometimes they also get to use like the colored and the fabrics or something to add that in. But
I see.
it's a very colorful masquerade.
Okay. I'm sorry that I got hung up on the python, but I was really interested if it was like a python that they maybe use, not that it's a pet, but like, you know, if it was like the same python every festival, and like someone takes care of it, and it's like the ceremonial python. Um,
Oh, I think that's the part of it that I totally have no idea of. If it is a different one every like for every ceremony.
mhm.
But then I also know that they kind of for every appearance they have to dress it. So I think it might be something different every time.
Okay. All right. So the festival that you like, the festival that you enjoy the most, what do you enjoy that it's calm
Mm,
and you get to have the yam and what goes on at this festival?
okay, so it's called the New Yam Festival. It happens usually in August. So there's a very well known one in Mbise in Imo State. They call it Iriji Mbise, like um Mbise New Yam Festival. So on that day, it happens in August. I can't remember the particular day in August. Um, it's the yam is harvested, and then there's a community gathering. They select where they want to gather, and then the king gets to pray for the community, thank God for the yam, and thank God for the harvest, and pray for better harvest next year. And then there's yam roasted. He would be the first person. The yam is then cut, and he will be the first person to eat.
Mhm.
and bless the yam, and then every other person can start eating yam wherever you are.
How many people are usually at this festival?
A lot of people, like lots and lots of people.
Okay. Like hundreds, thousands, tens of
Yeah, more than
thousands.
hundreds.
Okay.
See, it's a kind of festival that people come from different places to
Mm,
witness.
okay. What do we wear?
No, you can just wear anything you want.
Okay. Okay. I would I love hearing about festivals. I love festivals. I'm realizing this more as I'm getting older. I love festivals so much and I just want to
Yeah.
go to every festival if I could. The next best thing is hearing about them from people who've experienced them. When we talk about media, books, movies, songs. For people who are not familiar with Igbo language, where can we hear it? What can we watch? Who can we listen to? What can we read?
Okay. So, when you want to learn very much about the Igbo people, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, her books are usually centered around the Igbo society, and they're always super cool.
Mm.
And when you want to listen to Igbo artists, I love Flavor. Flavor and Fino, they have this way of using Igbo language. Like, they make Igbo language so beautiful that you'll just be vibing wherever you are. And yeah, I like their songs, their music, and mm, you can also go on YouTube and you would find maybe Igbo lessons, just if you want to take lessons in Igbo language or you want to hear what the language sounds like. But if you want to hear our music as well, um, we have people like Bright Chimeze as well. He's a traditional Igbo musician. He sings and he dances.
Is there anything that, in all the work that you do with community, with empowerment, the work that you do digitally, um, and all the community building that you're involved in, what do you feel like you want people to know? What do you feel like you want people to know about your Igbo culture, your Igbo language? Maybe things that they didn't know before, or anything that you want to remind people of?
Okay, I want people to know that the Igbo language, the Igbo culture carries respect for our elders. It carries this communal care. The Igbo culture has this community and communal care that is not, we're not individualistic people. And it's one of our proverbs also says that. We have a proverb that says, "Onyahala nwanne ya." So it means don't leave your sibling behind.
Mm,
In an Igbo family, you would see the elder brother or elder sister who has progressed and is trying to see the younger siblings through school or carry the younger siblings along. And then in Igbo or in the Igbo culture, we also try to stay connected through our language, our food, our storytelling, our music, and even when we are abroad, we always find ways to speak Igbo. We
mm,
always find ways to kind of cook our meals, and also um, care for other people, even though they are not related to us. Um, I remember one time when I went to Germany, I bought some chocolates and then I gave this assorted chocolate pack. I gave it to my Finnish classmate, and he was just so surprised that I gave him chocolate. I mean, guy, it didn't cost me so much, so why are you just surprised? It's just chocolate. And he was just so excited, like the way he was. talking about it. I'm not sure he's
Mm.
going to lick that chocolate. It looks like something that is going to be in his room as a souvenir for a very long time.
Mhm.
And it made me realize how um individualistic they are. For us, we go out, we buy things for our families, our friends, our the people, our neighbors, and we don't care if we are of the same mother, we are of the same father. We have this kind of community. We care for other people, and we do not want to leave any bond behind. So that's one thing I want people to know about the Igbo people. And wherever you see us, we're very hardworking and we are very bold. You cannot intimidate us. And we are straightforward too.
Can you give me an example of how in Igbo we're straightforward? How do we communicate that's very direct?
There's this, I'm going to use another proverb. So there's an Igbo proverb that says, "Iwenweze." So it means that the Igbos don't have kings. And not that we don't have kings, it's not what it means. It just simply means that an Igbo person is a king in his own family. So it simply means that you can't intimidate me, no matter who you think you are. Whatever I have in mind, even if you're an elder, yes, we respect elders. And even if you're the king, we will tell you plainly, this is good, this is not good. But then I've also come across people from other cultures that because this person is an elder, and even when the person does something wrong or is not doing something the way it should be, we are
Mhm.
afraid to tell them the truth because they are older. So we are not that kind of people.
Mm.
Yeah. So because of that, well, back where we come from, most people are intimidated by people of the Igbo origin because they feel like we outshine them, or because they feel like whatever you do, we'll tell it to your face. You're not going to intimidate us or compel us to do what we do not want to do.
Mhm.
So it's just part of our culture and part of who we are. Not We're not disrespectful, but when we feel that something is not right, we always tell you.
I like that it's rooted in like confidence of knowing who you are and where you come from and confidence of self, I think. It's always interesting to me, like directness versus indirectness and the way that people communicate around the world. And I love it. Let us know where we can find you online. Let us know where we can find and learn more about your work. Let us know how we can support you in the work that you're doing.
Okay. Um. So, I'm on Instagram as Adugo Tochi, and I'm on LinkedIn as Tochi Precious. I'm also on Twitter X as Tochi Precious or Adugo Tochi. Any of that you can find me. I also work with Wikitongues, and when you go to the Wikitongues page, you can find me as well. You can also find me on Wikimedia Meta as Tochi Precious, and you can follow some of my works. I love connecting with people, especially the ones who are passionate about languages and cultures. And you can also support my works by commenting, just cheering me up. Just say go Tochi. And I'll be excited to see it. Um, by also maybe supporting your own language online, um, adding articles on Wikipedia in your own language, that would also be great. Um, yeah,
Amazing. I'll add those links to the show notes for this episode so that people who are listening could get in touch and follow your work right away.
thank you.
I'm so excited that we had this conversation and it was so much fun learning about Igbo language and a bit about Igbo culture from you in this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was excited to talk about it too. Igbo we say Igbo like Igbo is beautiful, so we're always proud to flaunt the Igbo-ness in us.
Yes, I love that. I like to end each episode with the same question. Just have some fun before we say goodbye. Do you have any jokes, popular sayings, tongue twisters, cool slang words, idioms, words of wisdom, or words of advice in Igbo to share and to teach us?
One popular saying, Onyahala one year, don't leave each other behind, don't leave your sibling behind. And then one slang we use very much in Igbo is wanne. It's more like sibling. It can also be used as my person, my close friend, like wanne. And
Can you teach me the saying that you said about not leaving your sibling behind?
okay, onye
On
agala
onye alala
agala.
alala.
No, that's it.
Okay. A
Ra
ra
la.
la a ra la
Onye agala.
a
One.
ra la. It's like a soft ra a
Yeah.
ra la. Okay.
Yes. So onye agala wanne ya.
Okay. One more time.
Onye
Onye ahala.
yeah, Aghala.
Mm-hmm.
Then wanne, NW,
Mm-hmm.
ANNE,
Wanye.
wanne. Then
Wane.
ya,
Wane.
yes, ya, YA.
Yeah. Onye ahala. Wane. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. I got it.
Yeah,
Thanks. And that means, like you said, that means it's about not leaving your sibling behind.
yes.
Okay. That's a good one. That is a good. We have to watch out for our siblings.
Yeah, actually, we have to. Can also be your friends or maybe your community. It just
Yeah.
not about your siblings and
Uh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again. Before I let you go, really quickly, you're having a conversation with someone in Igbo for some time, but now it's time for you to go your separate ways. What is
okay,
the best way in Igbo to say goodbye?
okay. Email, Kodi. You can say Kodi.
Koadi?
Yes. Kodi is like bye until later, until further notice. You can say Dalo. Thank you.
Dalo.
Yes.
Dalo. Tochi
Yeah.
Precious.
So bad.
Thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
New episodes of Speaking Tongues are available every Monday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and to like and share episodes with other language lovers like yourselves.